Hi everybody, happy Friday and welcome to another edition of Finish It Fridays. This is the month of finishing all our knitwares, our works in progress, unfinished objects, also known as UFOs, crochet projects, rug hooking, quilting, anything that's made with your hands. It is known as Finish It February around the world. So we are keeping in good company. How is everyone doing today? We have sunshine in Muskoka, beautiful sunshine, which is slowly melting the snow. We have about another maybe 1.5 feet to go of the white stuff. And I think we have a really nice weekend coming up. A little warmer down towards the Toronto area, but tomorrow it'll be pretty nice for us. So has anyone seen any signs of spring in their neighborhood? I would just love to see something green on the ground, which won't be happening for a while here, or maybe a bird nest. Might be a bit too early for that. So what I do on our Finish It February Fridays is basically just go over what I have on the needles or on the hook, and kind of like a show and tell. So today I'm going to show you what I have finished and what I still have lurking in the shadows that is unfinished. We still have a couple more days to finish off the month and finish off our projects, and you know, it's just a personal best type of competition. Can we do it to the finish line? We really don't have to feel bad if we don't get our project list completed. So last week I showed you a pair of socks that I was knitting, designing and knitting in a new yarn from Opal. The yarn is called Magic Sky, and it has a really interesting lurex thread going through it. So it is self-striping, like many of the sock yarns are from Opal, a German manufacturer. But this one has the extra bonus of having little twinkling stars in it. So I knit up a pair of socks, and I have finished them as of last Monday. So they are blocked, and Super Sandy let me use her sock blockers just so I can really show them. And the pattern is up on Ravelry, and it is in store. I'll bring it closer to the camera. So the pattern is stairway socks. Every stairway leads somewhere. And here are the finished socks. So it's a great pattern for using any of your fingering weight sock yarns. It doesn't have to be the Opal Magic Sky. That's just a new fancy colorway that has come in. And these are knit from the cuff down. For those of you who knit 2 at a time or toe up socks, it's an easy pattern to convert as well to your style of knitting. And the slip stitch heel, and the pattern has a diagonal rib going through it. Each sock has a different diagonal pattern, so that when you're wearing them, the stairways go in opposite directions. I thought that was kind of important. And they are knit on 2.75 millimeter needles. You could use your circular if you want to do magic loop, or the traditional style, which is the 4 or 5 double pointed set. One ball will do any size, a 100-gram ball. There is over 420 meters in a ball. So just, you know, a little project I wanted to work on that was small, because a lot of my projects are garments and they are quite big. And what else? Oh yes, over here we have this beautiful FO, finished object. This was knit by Super Sandy. Some of you, if you've been in the store, you'll know who Super Sandy is. She's quite often behind the counter or helping people choose yarns along this side of the store and in the center where we keep our hand-dyed yarns. So this was her goal for the month was to finish it in February, and she knit the Pearl Strings pullover by Heidi Kay. Heidi Kay is a well-known designer on Ravelry. I'll put the link to the pattern in the comments below if you'd like any more information on the project. And if Super Sandy is watching today, she can always answer any questions that you have in the comments. So what she did was knit top down, seamless, and she chose to do the long sleeve version. In the pattern they give you 3/4, you could do a short sleeve, elbow length, 3/4, or full length sleeve. It's a very interesting textural effect. These are what they call the pearl strings, and this is the pearl string yoke here. And then they've got garter ridges here to break up the pattern a little bit. So you could do it in a variety of different ways. I've seen in some of the projects on Ravelry that not everybody knit the pearl strings textured rounds here. They decide to go plain and keep all the interest in the yoke. But whatever you do in the body, you should try to complement it and do the same in the sleeve. It just gives it a more cohesive look. And the yarn that Super Sandy used for this gorgeous pullover, I don't know if you can see, but it's got a really nice crisp stitch definition and nice drape to it. It's a combination of cotton, linen, and bamboo fiber. We have it in the store. Right now we have it in cream, pale pink, silver gray, black, golden yellow, and an olive green. And they are 50-gram balls. And according to Sandy, she used 7 or 8 balls. She made her sleeves a little bit shorter according to her sleeve length, and she did the M1 size. So Heidi Kay usually designs her patterns with a medium 1, a medium 2, a large 1, a large 2, just to give a more detailed sizing. And you can see that there's a bit of a sheen to the yarn from the bamboo and the linen fiber. It's very lightweight, and I think Sandy used 3.25 and 3.5 millimeter circular needles. The pattern states that there is 2 to 5 inches of positive ease, so it's meant to fit dressy but a little bit on the looser side. If you were to knit it and you want it to be very fitted, you'd have to go down 1 size than your usual chest measurement. So that is called pearl strings. And I see Sandy is watching. Hi Sandy, hi Cheryl. Yes, Cheryl. All that massive buildup of icicles has melted now off the roofs, because we've had a few days this week where the sun was really strong even though it was still cold. So I'll bring a ball of the yarn up so you can see the twist. Very interesting twist, not too tight and not too loose. And hopefully the sheen shows up on the camera. So yes, this little ball called Fiori is a yarn that we use a lot for our spring and summer cardigans, sleeveless shells, pullovers, vests, all sorts of things. I can tell you the yardage if I put my glasses on, or the meters. 150 meters, so for 50 grams that's really good. Usually we get 110 or 120 for such a little ball. So that is one finished object, and I'm wearing a finished object. I'm wearing my new vest, which I was about 3/4 of the way through last week. I'll stand up so you can see it a little bit closer. And it's just a very casual crew neck vest with what I call the beaded rib at the bottom. Beaded rib. So I've carried the beaded rib from the ribbing up the side and around the underarms, around the neck. And I've done a beaded rib pocket. So I was just looking for something that would be sleeveless, but a bulky, lightweight vest that I could wear over dresses, over long shirt dresses, over long tunics, just to give me a bit more mileage to my wardrobe during the winter time, because I find that dresses generally are too, they're not well insulated, especially in here in the winter time. So shelter vest, I'm starting to take after my dad. He used to wear vests probably from the end of August till the end of June, just to keep his back warm. So this one took 4 skeins of my favorite yarn. I use it a lot, and it is called Llama Natural Chunky. And it knits up really nicely on a standard chunky tension, which is generally a 6 millimeter. But I did this one on a 7 and a 6.5 for the ribbings. I wanted to keep it very soft and not too dense, because if you have a dense fabric, it also makes it quite heavy. And the other bonuses, if you use a larger needle, the yarn goes further. So I used about 3.5 skeins, so that equals 4 of the 100 gram skeins. And this particular yarn is all natural. It's a combination of llama and merino, and there are no dyes in it. So you can really feel the difference. It's soft. It doesn't have any residual over finish to it. And the colors are very natural. We have it in light gray, the darker gray, the light fawn, and the darker fawn. The color I used is more of a parchment color, and I used it all up. So I will have the pattern next week. I call it Shelter Vest, because it does give me a little bit of shelter from the cold. And so that is my finished object, the socks and the vest. And then for an example of how to wear a vest over a dress, I just snuck down to the vintage clothing store, which happens to be in the same building that I'm in. That's called Years Ago. And I was looking for a dress just to show another version of a vest over top of it to give a bit more mileage. This is a very thin silk crepe dress, so it would not be warm enough for this time of the year, but maybe in the spring and the fall. So this little vest is called Berry Crush. I'll put the pattern in the comments below, and it is knit in the round, and it has really interesting side detail. I'll show you on the picture in a second. And all the borders are built in as you go, so there's no picking up of stitches after. That's an extra bonus. And there's a little I-cord tie here, which you can close up or leave open, or just omit it if you don't like it. And then a sweet little boat neck, which is very straight, but it just kind of drops down because the yarn has so much drape and play in it. So this is the little vest called Berry Crush, and you can see there's a lot of interesting twisted rib and lace side detail. So that vest is knit on the round, and it takes 2 or 3 100-gram skeins of a sport weight blend. We've got all the colors in the basket here. I can show you a little closer. It's on a 3.75 millimeter and 4 millimeter circular. So the 4 millimeter would have to be an 80 centimeter or 32 inch, and size range is small, which this one is, but there is a lot of positive ease, all the way up to XXX large. Yes, so the colors we have are piled up in the basket. They're all sort of berry berry colors. We have a really interesting greeny blue, and then a denim, and a fuchsia, and a pale dusty pink, a soft coral, and then a dusty lilac. So yes, it just takes 2 to 3 skeins to make a sleeveless vest, and it's something that you can wear over a little t-shirt, over a tank top in the summer, over a sundress. There's so many different ways to wear it. I did bring another dress from the vintage clothing store that has long sleeves, so maybe what I'll do is I'll scoot this off the mannequin and then just hold it up in front of the long sleeve vintage dress so you get an idea. So this is a shirt dress with pockets and a collar, which would look nice with the vest over it. So there you go, there's another look for you. It's all about getting more mileage out of our wardrobe by layering. Okay, so finished objects, I think. Oh, I do have one more finished object. This little guy here, which is still in need of buttons, but I did cast off last night the 2 sleeves and sew them in, and I will work on picking out the buttons later today and try to get the pattern ready for next week. It'll be called On the Rocks Hoodie because it is part of our On the Rocks series, which features On the Rocks toque and the matching cowl with the drawstring. And then we have On the Rocks boot socks, which are a really nice chunky sock for around the house, and also in heavy boots. And then we also have the On the Rocks wristies. So why not just keep adding to the collection? Yeah, so this is all done in moss stitch with a garter stitch border in the bright red. There are other colors that you can do it in, but I'm trying to go with the theme here, that sort of Canadiana theme. And there's a little hood, pixie style with the point, and there will be 3 buttons. The buttonholes are built in as you knit the jacket, and it's very, very simple. Definitely a beginner level. It knits up very quickly on 6mm. It's machine washable, and I used 3 skeins of the main color and 1 skein, barely even 1 skein. I'd say maybe 1/8 of the skein for the contrast color. So it was really fun to knit. Didn't take much thought process. So if you're watching Netflix, it's a great one to cast on. The pattern will be ready next week, and I will make sure I put it up on Facebook and Instagram. Hi, Wendy. Oh, thank you. I feel so cozy today in this vest. I really, really like the weight of it, and I'm going to try wearing it with a few different outfits that I have. So I'm still working on my granny stripe blanket. Has anyone else started theirs since last week? I posted a couple pictures, I think on the Facebook story page, of a really nice combination. She was inspired by cottagey colors, so she went with the red And I think she went with a salt and pepper gray, lighter than this, and then a dark charcoal and a taupe. So if you've seen that one, that was entirely her own choice of colors, and it's really, really stunning. She also used a worsted weight instead of the typical fingering weight. So you can really do any weight of yarn for the granny stripe blanket. If you're thinking of doing one, you could do DK weight. If you're doing a DK weight, I would say use a 4.5 or 5 millimeter hook. And if you're doing the worsted weight, a 6 millimeter is great. And if you're using the chunky weight yarn, then 7 millimeter. I'm using a 4 millimeter on my fingering weight, which is a collection of all the scraps in various sock yarns. A lot of them are hand dyed. I have Richard DeVries sock yarn in here, Natural U, Yarn Indulgences, Riverside yarns. It's just a really nice memory of all the projects that I've knit with the different yarns. So since last week, I have really not worked much on it. This one is more of a, what should we call it? It's kind of like my bonus project. So if I finish all my work, you know, things like this, then I can pick this up and do maybe an hour in the evening. So last week I was here in the pale blue, and I've worked up to the completion of one more panel. So each panel I'm finishing off with 2 rows of the fluff yarn. So far I have 1, 2, and the third one complete. And I've designed it to be 5 feet wide, and it's going to be 6 feet tall. It's for a little girl, so these are colors that I think she will like. Pinks, purples, blues, yellows, and pale orange. I'm trying to stick with the pale to the mid colors. I've put in a few colors that were a bit too dark, and then I've ripped them out. So it's a great stress reliever type of project, and very, very simple. The pattern is free. I'll put the link down below again if you missed it last week. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, kind of like a formula, and then you can decide how wide you want it and how you want to repeat the colors. I don't really have enough leftovers that I can repeat the colors more than maybe once or twice, which isn't really a problem. I'll just look for similar colors, and then it sort of blends in together. So that is the granny stripe blanket. We did have somebody, I think, who's doing it in a royal blue, a purple, and more of a bright sunshine gold. And I think that might be on our events page. Finish it Friday. Hi Elizabeth, how are you? Did you get more work done on the sleeves of your cardigan? So the last one that I'm still working on is really not progressing very far. It was from our Cardi Knit Along, and it's called the Blendin' Woods cardigan. I did finish, I think, both sleeves. Yes. I have finished both sleeves, and I've sewn them up because I really wanted that sense of accomplishment. And I have one more front to do, and then a huge shawl collar border. Last week, if you were watching, I was showing you the finished cardigan, the same pattern that was knit in that beautiful gold, mustard gold. And yes, there is a lot of knitting in it, cable work, and then the ribbing for the border. So it is knit in the Echo Tweed DK, which is a natural blend of alpaca, wool, and lyocell. It's very lightweight, so it'll be great for the spring and the fall. And the honeycomb cable, which is knit all through the sleeves and on each side of the front and the back, is the type of stitch that gives it more thickness, but it creates a nice light puffy effect. So it's not going to be a heavy hot cardigan, it's just going to be very comfortable. So this will actually have to get moved to March, for finish it March, I guess. Oh, and I have a little stitch marker on the front here. And what happens with our knitting, we sometimes end up with little flaws or mistakes in the pattern. So it's always nice just to mark where they are, because you can forget about them. And if you intend to go back and fix that area after and do a little touch up, you might not be able to find where the mistake was made. So what happened in this area on the front, of course it's near the top, right beside the armhole, I had forgotten to do the 1x1 cable here. So for this section, there's a purl stitch in between, and it should have come together like this. Nothing major, I can fix it after, but you know what I was thinking? Why? Why would I fix it? Do you fix your mistakes when you're knitting or crocheting or quilting, or do you leave them in as a reminder of where you were in your thought process, what was going on in your life? Obviously, I was rather distracted when this one happened. So there is something called intentional mistakes, and this was unintentional, and most of us when we're knitting, we do unintentional mistakes, and it really bothers us, and we spend a lot of time frogging, tinking, ripping it back just to make it perfect. But then I was thinking, why does it have to be perfect? You know, it is unique, it's one of a kind. We're creating something with our own hands that hopefully will last a long time. So I did a little bit of research, and I found out that there really is something called the intentional mistake. And in different cultures, an intentional flaw is put in on purpose. So it can be in quilts, handmade quilts, it can be in rugs, it can be in beaded work, anything that's made with the hands, a form of artistic expression. So according to the Amish, you have to make an intentional mistake or it tempts the devil. And what we first see in our knitting as a mistake, which needs to be frogged, can actually become a design element. So I could say to somebody, if they ever noticed that tiny little flaw, that I had done that on purpose. How would they ever know that that was unintentional? And did you know that Persian weavers deliberately insert a small error into each carpet, as only Allah can make perfection? So it would be an offense to go against Allah. And there's also some Native American tribes who put mistakes into their artwork on purpose as an expression of humility to honor the Great Spirit. And another native tribe sees each mistake as a portal. So in native beading, the intentional mistake is called the spirit bead, and it's believed to be the gateway for the Great Spirit to enter the artwork. So I was looking at my little flaw and thinking, oh yeah, the spirit could enter through the two knits, you know, right through that purl stitch. So basically, instead of feeling stressed over a mistake in your knitting, why wouldn't you consider it a way to accept that we're only human And humans are entitled to make mistakes. That's how we learn and improve our skill. And if we're covering up our mistakes and hiding them, then, you know, we're forgetting about them. We're not moving forward and learning the lesson. So I've decided I'm going to wear the mistake quite proudly as an emblem of humility. Let's see what everyone's saying. Nancy says they also say the truly great are seldom conformists. That's very true. Sandy likes to fix her unintentional mistakes. Yeah, sometimes you do have to fix them if it's going to upset the whole pattern. You know, if you do have extra rows in there on the front and you don't have them in the back, then that's not going to play out properly in the end when you seam it together. And Wendy says, mine left a hole I don't always fix. And Teresa says she tries to fix as she goes. Yeah, it's a little bit different. You know, not every mistake can stay in there. I'll get away with this one because it's really not noticeable to the naked eye. But I think if I dropped a stitch, and usually when you drop a stitch, you know what's going to happen. It's just like pantyhose. That stitch is going to run all the way down. So you need to either ladder it up with a crochet hook, or if you've accidentally created a new stitch over the drop stitch, then you can catch it with a bit of the same yarn and sew it in the back, and it won't be noticeable. So those type of mistakes you definitely have to deal with before it's too late in the process. And oh, Elizabeth, hi Elizabeth. You almost have the front and the back done. That's amazing. Good for you. Sleeves and ribbing will be easy. So Elizabeth was working during our cardi-cal on, what was the cardigan called? The first one. Apple Basket? I think it was Apple Basket. That rings a bell. Had a really pretty box stitch pattern, and the borders were worked in as part of the fronts, but you had to do a double seed stitch, and that can really get confusing. The single moss stitch or seed stitch is quite easy because every row you change. So you would do knit, pearl, then the next row you look at the stitches and you do the opposite. Purl, knit, The double seed stitch, you have to do 2 rows the same. So you have knit, pearl for 2 rows, and then you have to remember to change your sequence on the 3rd row and keep the 4th row the same. So it does have a lot of concentration involved, but I'm so proud of you, Elizabeth, for sticking with it and finding your rhythm. It just makes you feel good when you go to sleep at night that you haven't let a pattern get to you and stress you out or beat you. Okay, so yes, so we have 2 more days. Everybody get busy to work on your WIPs and UFOs and turn them into beautiful finished objects like Super Sandy's pearl strings. So anything that I've shown you today that I have the pattern for, or the patterns on Ravelry, I will post in the comments. You can take a closer look. And if you have any questions about anything you've seen today, please leave them in the comments, or you can send me an email, muskokayarnconnection@gmail.com, or just message on Facebook. And next week is March, yes. So I'll be back next Friday, and we're going to start a new edition called Make It March. So it'll be really the same thing. It'll be the UFOs, the finished objects, and maybe I'll throw in some dream WIPs. I call them dream WIPs. So those are things that I have in my mind that I would like to knit, and I haven't chosen colors, and I haven't really settled on the exact pattern. So it'll be very much like today, same time, same place, and that will just get us through till that lovely day when we hear the birds sing and we see our first green something under the snow, and that would be the first day of spring. And the first day of spring is now only 22 days away. So the countdown is on. So I hope everybody enjoys their weekend and just gets lots of finishing time. Thanks for watching.